the U.S. Treasury Department has proposed a 30% excise tax on the cost of powering crypto mining facilities. What's going on there?
Yeah, so there's a provision in the department's Green Book. It's a list of tax proposals and explanations for the U.S. president's budget proposal, which would create a phased-in excise tax based on the cost of electricity used in crypto mining. So an excise tax is a legislated tax on specific goods or services at the time they're purchased. We often associate them with like sin taxes, like like tobacco and alcohol, but also a large part of the excise taxes come from fuel and other things. So they are essentially treating Bitcoin mining almost like a sin tax there, like it's some awful thing that needs to be curtailed. And that's kind of their point. What they're hoping is that the excise tax on electricity usage by digital asset miners would reduce mining activity, along with all of its associated environmental impacts and harms. So, and here's where there is a disconnect right now, I think, happening between the crypto industry, the mining industry specifically, and legislators. The legislators are, I think, fundamentally misunderstanding a lot of what goes on in Bitcoin mining. So they say that the increase in energy consumption attributable to the growth of digital asset mining has negative environmental effects and can have environmental justice implications, as well as increased energy prices for those that share an electricity grid with digital asset miners. So what they are not understanding is the potential and the potential that Bitcoin mining has to actually support environmental efforts to create more sustainable environmentally friendly sources of energy, like wind, for example, or solar. And here's a really funny one. Digital asset mining also creates uncertainty and risk to your local utilities and communities, as mining activity is highly variable and highly mobile. Bitcoin mining is extremely mobile. It can go anywhere that there is an energy source. It can go in the middle of the desert where nobody else is using all of that green energy, or along a route, an energy route where energy is being lost, and use that lost energy. It doesn't rely on being near a community to support it. It can be out in the middle of nowhere. Bitcoin mining is highly variable. It can work with grids and local utilities and communities in order to help support the way that the energy grid uses energy, and the costs associated with doing that in areas that don't necessarily have the infrastructure otherwise to support the electrical system. There's all kinds of ways in which this is not particularly a good interpretation of how mining works. So I just want to give a shout out to Michael Casey and Sheila Warren. Their Money Reimagined podcast goes into this in depth and is a really good primer on how there is that disconnect. They speak with their guest Margot Paez, who's a PhD candidate and fellow at the Bitcoin Policy Institute, and Will Foxley, one of our own CDTV cohorts, who is also the director of content at Compass Mining. So I highly recommend you catch their podcast, The Energy Crisis, Can Mining Help? Because it really helps break it down. Mm-hmm.